Thank you very much for the presentations, Ian, and also the responses this morning. I wanted to bring about an area of differentiation that possibly could probably needs a little bit more discussion, both from the perspective of Task Force 1 and Task Force 2. From my understanding of the world, there is a north and a south, however we may define it, and however the power centers may have shifted to Asia or China and India. But in my view, there is also a south in the north, which can be very large. And there is almost always a north in the south, albeit small. And what my experience has been that it is the north in the south which continues to talk to the north. And my experiences here, I belong to a small, private, well-funded university funded by the Aga Khan Foundation, the Aga Khan University, and this forum speaking where the dominant discussion has been from the north. However, there is a lot of what is happening in the north which needs to be brought out in the open. Not all of them, as I said, there's a south in the north. And I'm wondering as to how can we open our dialogues to include these parts of the population which I find are marginalized and disenfranchised. And I have found it in both our data and the data collected and also in some of the discussion in our own task force 1. So hopefully I can get some comments from our commentators as well on this aspect.
I found all, the discussion so far very interesting, but I spontaneously lifted my hand when Jorge was talking right in the first round, and I would like to come back to the issue of differentiation of doctoral programs or degrees. There has been done some research on that, and I had a closer look into what is developing in Europe and actually came up with basically 7 different models being around concerning doctoral education, starting of course with the research doctorate, but then going on to the professional doctorate, to the taught doctorate, the PhD by published work, or we call it cumulative dissertation, the practice-based doctorate, the new route doctorate, and finally the joint doctorate or the Doctor Europaeus. That's alone already 7 different models. And of course, if we ask, are there first class and second class, that comes up in a variety of issues, of course. Also in these models, some are being criticized as awarding second-class doctorates. But if we have an expansion of doctoral education, which we could see during the last 10 to 15 years in many countries around the world, we end up with the same question that we have for general higher education expansion. Does massification or expansion need differentiation? And then we are away from the traditional meritocracy model. Only the best will be selected. Because then, of course you have different models catering to different motives and purposes of people getting a doctoral degree. Maybe it's just eventually just knowledge workers required for the knowledge economy rather than future professors and academics. Second point, I know that in Europe there is still very much, it is still very much the case that policymakers say we do not want to concentrate on one model. There should be many pathways to the doctorate. This is reflected currently in the European qualification framework, which implies at level 8 even other forms based on, for instance, work experience rather than going through a doctorate. And the final point I want to make is that we currently observe, at least in Europe and with the ongoing reforms in the framework of the Bologna process, but I would say also, increasingly in the US and in other parts of the world, a shift in the doctorate from being a rite of passage, meaning submitting a piece of original work and defending it, to the process of getting the PhD and its quality and content. And this is where the attention has shifted, and I think we can derive some, ideas about differentiation from that as well. Thank you.
It's just something very brief. It's really a point of clarification. Earlier on, it was said that there was a country where there was an age limit of 28 for doctoral education. And it's not quite that clear. It's the Czech Republic. And unfortunately, Helena's not here to explain why that age limit is there. It's actually an age limit that's related to their social support system. They do have doctoral students over 28, but they do have a very high proportion, higher than any other country, of doctoral students below 30. So I just thought it would be interesting to know that.